Hello, I'm Lisa Harrison, and today is Tuesday, the 6th of March, and I'm speaking with Michael Monk and Peter Shelton. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hello.
Thank you. Bless you.
Now, Michael, I've only just discovered you in the last few days. One of my viewers sent me some information about you and asked me to please interview Michael. And for those who don't know Michael, he is a unique gentleman with the ability to do some pretty wild things with his energy, and so is Peter. And they were recently brought together, and I haven't actually had a chance to speak to Peter before, but we'll find out a bit more about him as we go. Michael, I've had a look at your site and some of your photographs, and I want you to talk me through some of those a bit later
Sure.
on because they're pretty wild.
Yeah,
Now, looking at reading your story, you were brought up in a Mormon family,
that's right.
and at 14 you rebelled against that and refused to go to church anymore.
Pretty much.
Pretty much. Was that just, typical teenage rebellion, or was it more than that? It was just, this is not where I want to be?
Yeah, and the hypocrisy, like everybody there treated each other in unity and brotherhood while they're there, and then, behind each other's backs, they would say things, and my father was not the same person at home as he was at church, and so I didn't see the point of it. It was fake.
Uh-huh.
I also think that just to say something, this, the, our spiritual side works on 7-year terms, and 14 is a connective number. So going by 7, 14, so on as you go. So I think that would have been a time of activation, so to speak, with
Okay.
Michael's own abilities as well.
Steiner worked on those principles too, didn't he? Of the 7-year cycles.
Yes, and so does the biorhythms. They actually work on those particular um, uh, cycles of life, so to speak. So yes, and Steiner was, as you know, a very clever man.
Yes, very. So in 1999, how old were you?
Let's see, minus 12, so 22.
So you're 22, you're sitting at home on the couch with your brother, you haven't been to church for some time, or been involved in any religious practice.
Right.
You're sitting at home, you're watching Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas,
hmm
and and something happens to you in the middle of watching this film, and out of nowhere. Can you explain? I know you've probably told this story ad nauseum, but can you explain what that experience was all about?
Sure. I was just watching the movie, which was a comedy. I had no spiritual focus whatsoever. And all of a sudden I felt an energy. I didn't call it energy then. It appeared to me then that the Holy Ghost was coming into me. That's what I called it. An energy came in through my crown chakra, and an audible voice spoke to me. Like it was audible, like you could hear it just like I'm hearing you right now. And it told me to stop laughing, to stand up, turn the TV off, and as soon as I did those things, it had more to say. And I asked, "Who is this talking to me?" And I said, "Grandfather, is that you?" Because he'd recently passed. And the voice said, "Yes." And it it's with telepathy though. There's more feelings, so it felt yes at the same time. Like my whole body's vibrating at the same time that I hear the word yes. And I said, "Well, wow." And then I felt a secondary presence within the same energy, like I wasn't quite grasping the full picture. And I felt my cousin who had recently passed. And so I said, "Cousin Jason, is that you?" And the same exact voice said, "Yes." And once again, I vibrate all over. And I said, "Okay, well, I'm confused. You're my grandfather and you're my cousin. Help me understand." And the instant I said that, my inner vision opened up and I just saw a huge heavenly array of all these light beings, and they were connected and speaking to me as one singular voice. And that's when I pretty much realized I was talking to God or the Holy Spirit or, collective consciousness. There's many different names for it. And my response was, wow, Father, is this what it's like on the other side? We're all connected and we all share feelings and thoughts. And the voice said, you have finally met me, and now I'll give you a space and time, and you can ask me any question you want. And we dialogued for about 2 hours.
What did your brother think at this point? I mean, he's sitting next to you while all this is going on, isn't he?
Yeah, he humored me. I said, Pat, I'm talking to God right now. If you have any questions for him, he's given me permission to talk. And he humored me. He went along with it, but he wasn't having the experience himself.
Did he believe you
but
were having an experience?
yes, he did. Well, I mean, yeah, he said he did. But until a person has the experience themselves, it's, belief is not a very strong word.
Did he actually ask questions?
No.
He just sat there and watched you go through this for 2 hours, or?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was told most of my questions were biblical in nature, but the voice kept leading me past the Bible. And so many things were discussed. By the end of it, I was sitting in a room looking at a wall, and I knew that if I did the right mental motions that I could make that wall disappear. So that was pretty much, the voice was instructing me as to the true nature of reality.
Was this contradictory to what you'd learned up to that point through the Mormon Church? Or inclusive?
I wouldn't say contradictory, just not inclusive. So way beyond, yeah.
So from 99 to 2008, you keep all of this to yourself pretty much, don't you?
Yep.
And what are you going through on a personal level at that point? I mean, are you having constant dialogue with this presence?
Yes, we developed a yes and no relationship, where I would ask a question, and if the answer was yes, I would get wonderful vibrations from head to toe. If the answer was no, I'd get the flight or fight syndrome in my solar plexus and stomach. And so I developed a yes and no relationship with it from that point.
So when you initially had this experience, your terminology for it was Holy Ghost. What is it now?
Collective consciousness.
And to you, is
Collective
that
consciousness, or I am, or so on, so on.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
To you, is that the same thing as God?
Yes, God knows himself as being all of us at the same time, so yes.
Okay. You're reminding me of something that happened many, many years ago. Someone asked me what I thought God was. And I had a packet of cigarette filters. And I threw them on the bed and I pulled them all together in a pile. And I said, that's what we call God. And then I spread them out. And I said, and that's me, and that's you, and that's you. And
Yep.
that's so what, yeah, okay, you're saying the same thing essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, it's just that he's found the God fragment that's inside of him, and he's connected with it. So this allows him to develop it even further than what most people would. Most people aren't willing to allow themselves to become like an I am, which is like the God fragment. They have the fear of the Bible, so to speak, in them, and the doctrines that have been mucked with inside that. And so they have this fear of this using the energy that is this inner energy that you have that's given to you, so to speak.
Right, they're afraid to use it of their own will and their own accord. They think that they have to serve a divine will, not realizing that your individual will is a part of the divine will.
Exactly.
That brings up another point. I've heard you talk about healing, and you've experienced both for yourself and you've helped facilitate for others some pretty miraculous healings. And
Yes.
you've said in the name of Jesus.
hmm
Do you think the power that comes with saying in the name of Jesus is simply through a belief and a faith? And would it be just as powerful, based on what you just said, if you said in my name?
Yes, but it's tricky. I mean, you could literally do healings in the name of SpongeBob if there is enough power behind the word, but humanity has put an extreme amount of power and belief into the word Jesus. So it's like a lot easier to work with the grain than against it.
Mm-hmm.
And Jesus is a legitimized, individualized entity within the source, so he can personally assist you as well. So there's truth to all sides of it.
So, Peter, can I ask you what your awakening experience was like? Was it something similar in that it came out of the blue? Have you been able to do this since you were a child? What?
I had a very traumatic experience as a child, and which was my father, well, basically tried to wipe us out, and also him did manage to wipe himself out. And this left me in a questioning why and what and how and so on. So at a very young age, I started meditating around about the age of 7, and going to church and so on. And like Michael, I saw very quickly that what they said in church and what they practiced outside at the barbecues and things like that was quite different to what was said in the church. So I separated myself from the church by the age of 14, and I was doing a thing called meditation. I was doing meditation already, and then I started doing this thing I was told to do, projection. So I do this thing called orbing and projecting.
Oh, by who?
So I can. Same as Michael.
Okay.
Inner voice told me, do this, project into a candle, make the candle flame go up and down, and then project further and further, listen to out until you can hear into the distance, as far as you can hear, and then once that noise becomes louder, listen further again. So you expand your soul energy, and I've proven many times that that I can do this at will, orbit will, and also project in many different places at the same time. As it got older, just up to the age of 14, I actually had an encounter which I would say was walking by Father, but the Holy Ghost or God Himself, into another being, not into me. And that was, I could see within his eyes that this person was not actually there at that point in time, and that it was another soul altogether. And I had no trouble recognizing that soul. And from that day onwards, I classified the Father as my Father, so to speak.
So this person that you had this encounter with, this was someone you knew, and
no,
then...
it was an old bum sitting on the street, believe it or not.
No, I can believe that.
Yeah. So he smiled and whatever, and he said, he just gave me one thing of advice. He said, just hide your gifts. So from that day onwards, I was very secretive about what I was doing and so on.
And at what point did you come out of the energy closet, so to speak?
Well, I was doing energy when I met Michael on Facebook actually, and that's nearly 3 years ago now, isn't it, Michael?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was started groups called the I Ams, and tried to get people to learn how to do energy and to accept the fact that they have the God particle and they are acting as the part of God, and it's quite all right to project. It's quite all right to try and manipulate the energies around you. It's it's not, as long as you remember that you place above yourself the Father image himself above you at all times. It's quite all right to use that energy in a positive way, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Always in a positive way.
So, Michael, back to you for a minute. It's 2008 thereabouts, and something prompts you to look into and start researching 2012. What was that?
Well, I had, people were talking about 2012 even in the 90s and early 2000s. So even when I was discoursing with the Holy Ghost and viewing God in a more religious sense, I always felt vibrations about it, like there was something to it. And I'm at work, and I used to sell cars, and so I had a lot of spare time in between customers, and something just prompted me to look up 2012, and I typed it in, and the first thing I saw was David Wilcock talking about it, and then I was led to a channeling called the Law of One, where an entity that calls himself Ra was speaking about the nature of reality and the unity of thought that binds us all. And I began to feel what I called the Holy Ghost in this channeling. And that amazed me, because this is like material that would have gotten you burned at the stake a couple hundred years ago. But here's the Holy Ghost telling me that there's truth in it. And so that's what started all of that. And in the Law of One, it speaks that we're not really physical, not in the way that we think, that everything's a vibration, that the light is a vibration, the matter is a vibration. And I really allowed this into my head. Instead of just reading it and saying, oh, that's neat, maybe I'll experience it that one day, I allowed it to rewire my linear mind to the point where I got hit with a huge energy, and the same voice, the voice of God, said, good, now go outside and get away from people. And I did. I go out in back where we take in the trade-in vehicles, and the instant I stop walking, the whole world starts rippling like this, like wavy, thick light everywhere in a rainbow spectrum. And I wasn't scared. I felt like, oh, I know this place. I've been here, and I know what to do. And the feeling was like stepping out of my chest. I didn't know what a heart chakra was at the time. And as soon as I started stepping out of my chest, my body starts coming apart and becoming unified with the wavy light. And I look down and I can see through my body. I look at my left hand, and it just whoosh, whoosh, it's just waving and disappearing. And it's not like I didn't have a body though anymore. My body was all the energy around me, everything I felt as a part of myself. But I got a little bit scared, and I said, what if I can't rematerialize? The instant I said that, bam, I'm back in my body, solidified, and my heart's racing out of my chest. Which was interesting, because just a second ago I didn't even have a heart. I mean, I was pure energy. So it was like
Did you still feel boundaries?
I do. I feel my body more than I feel my environment, but at all times I feel my environment as an extension of myself.
And how many times have you had that experience? Just the one?
Probably about 40 or 50.
Oh, really?
No. Once I started mastering the energy, yes, which really started kicking in around 2010. For 2 years, it was a quest, like, oh my God, how do I get that experience again? How do I figure this out? And but it wasn't until 2010 when I really learned how to open up to the energy consistently, and any time that I want, that I learned how to vibrate to that level.
I know that you've been documenting your own journey pretty fastidiously with photographs and video, and acting quite subjectively looking at this as a researcher as well, which has been great.
Mhm.
But have people experienced this? Have they seen you in the flesh with their own eyes doing this
Oh yeah.
and see your hand disappear or your energy start, you go fuzzy or whatever you do?
Yeah, many times.
Extraordinary. And Peter,
Yeah, it is.
have you developed the same abilities?
Myself, yes. Um, I can actually get people to. I recently took someone to the. I'm in Sweden at this point in time, even though I live in Australia, and I took them up to the Viking graveyards and did it orbing on the energy, and and the he said that he'd never had such an experience as whole life. He could even hear talking. So,
Sorry,
I use my
Peter.
orb to bring.
Sorry, but
Yeah,
your connection's not great. We missed that last
yeah.
sentence.
But see, I use my orb to bring other orbs to me. So, like, I
Ah,
create one orb, and then that attracts many, and then then there's multiple beings there at that one time, and
so what are
uh,
orbs?
they're actually energy, and you can project your energy into an orb and
But does that
follow
mean
it
when
where
we see
you
orbs in
want.
photographs or we see them out there that it's a 3D person projecting, or is it something else? Is it?
There's two different types of orbs. There's one from the collective consciousness, which is there all the time, and there's people like myself who can actually send orbs out, and
Hmm.
Michael, and so we can send particles of ourselves out to 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 create energy or to do our bidding, so to speak. Which is, like if we think that someone needs help, we can orb something to them, and so on. And it's just a matter of focus and also um, using your third eye, so to speak, to mind's eye to create this orb, and then you just send it away to do what you want.
Right, an orb is basically a Merkaba. It's the pure shape that a soul takes when it's not embodied, so it naturally becomes round because it's the most energy efficient configuration. And a lot of people are doing it unconsciously. What
Yes.
makes what Peter and I do different is we can place our minds inside of these orbs and they become an extension of our very being.
So we get to travel in them himself. So if I'm talking to Michael, I can orb straight to him now, whereas before I used to have to go to the collective consciousness, then orb down to see him. But since we've made this connection, I can orb straight to him and vice versa.
Is it the same kind of experience from your end as remote viewing, or I mean, it's not bilocation in the sense of physically dematerializing and rematerializing somewhere else, but it's your consciousness
Yes,
traveling. So,
yeah, exactly.
so you can actually observe people and places in real time
Yes,
by using this orb technique.
yes.
Very cool.
That's
So, Michael, what has the collective consciousness and your discussions with it told you about 2012? What's your vision?
Uh, we're the creators of this experience. We're not held to a timeline. 2012 was a time that was viewed by the Mayans. Now, they were creating time at that time, if that makes sense. We're creating our own time right now. And if we think that we're bound to any one particular time, then we haven't learned the lesson of time yet, which is that we are creating time. So there's no one specified date unless a creator, which is an I am, a person who's fully aware, knows exactly what he's doing and says, on this date, I'm going to do this. Then you can count on it. But if it's just a scan ahead or a channeled information, then you can't count on it because we're the creators of this reality. We believe in God absolutely, but what God did for us is he gave us the bodies and the physical interpretation of reality, the pattern. And we naturally create physical reality by being in these bodies, but this is our reality and we are the creators of it.
Yeah, a lot of the 2012 hype, I think, has allowed some people to be quite complacent and just
Exactly.
sit back and go, well, everything's going to be okay. We're on a positive timeline. And, I'm playing my part in that by the interviews I do, and I'm aware of that. But um, I definitely don't want people to get complacent and go, it's all
No.
guaranteed. I don't have to do anything. I just have to sit back and
Right.
watch.
and,
All the
and
surrender philosophies and whatnot. I
Japanese.
mean, nothing worth obtaining comes without a little effort. And you have to understand energies. You have to understand it because it's the essence of life itself. And if people really had true tastes of empowerment, then they would understand that they're not ready for this, that you have to mentally prepare. I mean, you have to mentally be able to hold this kind of energy. If there was a God that turned on all of our switches right now, he would not be doing us any favors because people would be insane for the most
They
part.
would fry people's minds in seconds because they wouldn't be able to control the energy that they were receiving. And the trick is to be able to hold the energy that they're receiving. Even people who are meditating, who are doing light working, they're not practicing energy as well. And so they're just going to, they're not acknowledging their full range of emotions. And you can't just go love, project love, love, love. You've got to understand the whole essence of your whole being and allow that to be one. Or you're hiding something, and that's not correct. You're allowed to be annoyed about things. You're allowed to not disagree with things. It's perfectly normal, and it's acceptable. You don't have to go, oh, love, love, love. It doesn't work like that. You have to be a whole being and a whole soul, so you don't get fried. And so you have to understand your energies as a not just one particular energy. That's multi-range energy, and also the other thing, people think that you've only got one set of chakras, where there's external chakras as well, and they don't seem to understand that they've got countless chakras outside of their body as well. So they think they're to this level, whereas they're only on the threshold. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think when they go out there and meditate, and especially in public, and show people, they're projecting light and love. That's good. That's a path. At least they're showing people on the street, or maybe we should be doing something like this, because they're showing them one step that Michael and I have been doing, is taking people from that step and taking them up another step, which is the groups that we've been created. And
actually, while I've got you, because this has just occurred to me, but because you guys see energy in a way that very few of us do, and you have experienced energy in a way that even fewer do, I want to get your perspective on, well, I guess it's on my perspective, really. In amongst the interviews that I do and the chats that I have, I talk to people about, the elite and the Illuminati and the banking system and the New World Order and so on. And I do that primarily for two reasons. That at this time, that information seems to be playing a really vital first step in a lot of people's awakening process. And so I want to include it, because from there, that particular set of subjects opens the world up, is what I'm finding, right here and now anyway.
Yes.
And also because it seems that many people are just looking around and going, I don't understand why the world is the way it is. And when you don't understand why it is the way it is, finding a solution gets really, really difficult. But that information tends to explain why it is the way it is. And from there, looking for solutions becomes viable. So that's why I include that lot of information in what I do. But at the same time, I don't think that focusing on that is very healthy for us. It's not very productive.
No.
It's great as an opener, as an entree, but you need to go beyond that. And I know people who have been down this road for as long as I have, 20 years, or twice as long as I have, and they're still there. And they still spend the majority of their time focused on what's happening now. I mean, once you know that there is an elite, that they have an agenda, and that they're constantly implementing one diabolical scheme after another in order to implement that agenda, once you know that, move on, is my thought. But there are people who are really stuck and just want to stay on top of the next scheme and the next plan. And it creates this place of anger and frustration and fear that they get stuck in. But because you guys can see energy and the way it flows, I just wanted to, how can I put this? I see that whole, the elite like a parasite. When you get a physical parasite in your body, it makes you crave sugar. And every time you eat sugar, what you're really doing is feeding it, it's growing, you're getting weaker and sicker, and that's the consequence.
Yes.
When we get into that place of fear and anger and we stay there, we're feeding this particular parasite, and it's getting bigger and stronger and healthier, and we're actually doing ourselves a disservice. So,
right, and you're actually empowering them.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. Michael might tell you that I got this Facebook page called Divine Souls, and on that you'll see that I've got orbing photos and things like that. When we talk about the Illuminati and people like that, we say that they've got no power anymore, that we have the power, and that and as you see, they are falling one by one because we've turned the energy against them by being this way. And it's not just one of us, there's quite a lot of us.
But is it simply a matter of taking our energy off them and placing it elsewhere? Do they literally starve to death because they're not receiving that sustenance?
Yes. We're putting our energy above theirs and blocking them, because we're using positive energy over the top of their negative energy of what they want of the world. And now we're putting free energy devices out and so on, and doing physical things to change the world as well as spiritual things.
So have you guys actually seen this in action? Have you seen the way energy is transmitted from person to person and how it affects another human being or another entity?
Yes, I'd like to make a comment on that. Sometimes I'll be outside getting into really deep energy states, and I'll feel a wave of negative energy coming towards me. Just before it hits me, I'll hear the neighbor at the house across from me. She'll yell at her husband. Then that energy will go through me, pass through me, and then all of a sudden a baby will scream at the house behind me. The energy will go even further, and I'll hear somebody else yelling at somebody else. And these people think they're acting out their own feelings, but they're not. So
that's insane.
Yeah, it is. I also have circumstances where my 9-year-old, she'll be like pumped up in her childhood play, just boom boom playing SpongeBob and stuff, and just radiating that intense child energy, and I feel it as like a thick magnet because I feel emotional energy. And all of a sudden the neighbor lady gets connected to her, and she has no idea she's connected to a bubbly 9-year-old, and she starts just complaining and bitching about everything, and she has no clue that she's acting out, she's responding to the energy of a child. So really, we're all connected whether we like it or not. Just what's happening is we're ignoring the data as if we could.
Can I just clarify something?
Sure.
Your daughter's in a hyped and happy state. So
Right.
why would the neighbor react negatively to be coming into contact with that energy?
Because her frequency was a lot lower than that energy.
And she just couldn't take it.
Yeah, it gave her an intruded on feeling.
Okay. So, what about entrainment though? Do we not entrain? Do we train both to a higher frequency and to a lower frequency, just whichever one is stronger, or do we entrain to the higher, always to the higher frequency, or what?
Well, if my 9-year-old was more conscious, she could have made her higher frequency harmonic with the lower frequency, and then there would have been a smoother transfer.
Uh-huh.
But since it was an unconscious exchange, there was no harmony between the two of them.
So, what do you see when you're actually performing a healing on someone?
It varies every time. I see magnetism, so I can see what kind of energy is radiating out of their body, and it manifests as color as well. And I can see and feel if they've got stuck spots where energy isn't able to flow.
And in your view, I mean, I believe that everything that manifests in the physical in our bodies starts energetically.
Yes.
Yeah, you're agreeing with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, actually. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay. I've just seen it too many times. There's one gentleman that comes to mind who was a vegan yoga freak, couldn't have been healthier, who died of cancer, and he did everything. He did absolutely everything except look at his emotional state, look at his energetic state. Wasn't going to go there.
Right. Right.
And that story is something I've heard over and over again. People who do everything but look at what's going on with them energetically and emotionally.
Yes, it's very important.
So you've founded AvatarEnergyMaster.com, your website.
Right.
When did you do that?
Summer of 2011. So
oh, it's recent.
Yes. Peter and I did most of our work on Facebook. Just what we found was, one, everybody thinks that they were a guru there, so hardly anybody was willing to listen. And two, that because there wasn't any exchange, because we were doing it all for free, not enough people were taking it seriously. And so we started the website, avatarenergymaster.com, and we charge a nominal fee, just enough to keep it going. But we find that since there's a legitimate exchange between the students and us, that people are taking it very seriously. They're actually doing the exercises and learning. Like, we would be running these groups, and people, all they want to do is talk philosophy, just talk, Rumi this, Osha that, Buddha this. And we're posting demos saying, look what we can do with our energy. Here's the exercise. This is how you do it. Oh, ignore that. Well, Buddha says this. It's like, Buddha's dead. You're alive. Come on, guys, get with the program. So,
and we're in 2012. We're not back at that time of that philosophy. We're in this time, and this is our time of philosophy. This is our time of understanding. And it's like it's good to look back at the past to see where you've come from, but you've got to realize you're here and now, and you're in this energy zone, this time, this period, and feel it for what it is. And I think that's the most the important thing. That's why we can do the things we can do, like create wind or move trees or like some of the videos that Michael's got on his site and on YouTube and so on. It's because we connect with that energy, and we weren't able to manipulate its flow. That's all.
So how did you two actually come together?
I found him. I was looking for. It's very funny because I just went. Something told me that I had to look for someone who was doing energy, like me, and suddenly Michael appeared, and sure enough, he was doing energy, and I knew straight away who he was, and just by first sight. And since that day, we've sort of been best friends, so to speak. And we connected very quickly and almost instantly. So,
Have you actually met in
um,
person yet?
no.
No,
We sort of know each other better than
I'm
most
sure.
people would than someone who is that would have met in person.
No, it sounds like it. I
So
mean, you've had some extraordinary experiences together energetically. So,
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
yeah.
So, what's your aim here? Is it to teach enough people to work with energy? So, is it to achieve some kind of hundredth monkey effect where enough people do it and that we can then do what collectively?
Yes, exactly. Well, all the channels have been saying, collective consciousness, and they give dates where it'll happen. And well, that's just impossible. What we're trying to do is teach humanity how to make collective consciousness real. Instead of just saying, oh, we're all one, we're all connected. Well, that's great. Now we have this theory that we're all connected, but clearly we're not. So how does that help me? It doesn't. What we have are real techniques for making a collective consciousness, because as we've seen, we have enough history to show that any leadership will fail. It doesn't matter how good it is. If we have a system based on leadership, it will eventually fail. The only thing that can take humanity to a next level of peace and enlightenment is being a collective consciousness,
Consciousness.
having a unified mind and an individual mind. You don't lose the individuality, but you will know when you're acting out of harmony with the collective mind. The way you achieve this is by projecting energy. So what Peter and I basically do is the same thing as channeling, but we don't blot out our consciousness and allow another being to speak through our mouths. And so we hold the energy as our own and direct it and move it. We expand our mind and our energy past our bodies and outward into the world. And now when everybody starts to do this naturally, the minds of people will overlap. Not only that, but the heartbeats as well. And so we will tap into a level of energy with each other that's just currently undreamed of. We will think as one and individually. We'll have both, the best of both worlds, and we will be able to do things that currently are just massively undreamed of, even by Peter and myself, because the more wills you connect, the more powerful the energy gets by a spiritual law called the law of squares. So if Peter and I are in person, connected and overlapped, we're 2 times as powerful than if we were separate. If we then connect with you, Lisa, we would be 4 times as powerful. Add another person, it's times 8, and so on and so forth. So as one connected, humanity could literally build with their minds and move anything with their minds. We would completely replace physical labor with telekinesis and manifestation.
You've actually reminded me of two things in that little speech. One was the, what did you say, the law of squares?
Yes.
Because John Searle, do you know who he is?
No.
He's been creating free energy devices and flying machines since like the 40s,
Oh, okay.
based on this, something to do with the law of squares. And also what Bill Wood in a recent interview said. Are you aware of Bill Wood?
No.
Okay. Now he's come from Project Looking Glass and looking at timelines, and he said we get to a point where there's only one choice to make anymore. We all make the right choice. We get to a point, and it sounds like what you're saying in a sense of we make choices based on not only what's right for us, but what we can feel is also right for the collective. And we'll cease to make choices that go against either.
Right. It'll become impossible.
Yeah. It becomes too uncomfortable to make that choice.
Well, it's good to start to bring pieces together, Three different people, the information from 3 different people is starting to resonate, which is good, because for as long as I've been doing this, everyone's got a different story. It kind of drives me mad. But, okay, so what's the next level then? Let's say we reach this 100th monkey. We've got enough people who are working this way. Where does that take us? What does life look like? And is it what we're all terming ascension?
Well, we should be able to bring the fourth density down onto the third dimension, which means that we get the first stage of the ascension, which we're hoping that would be 13 around June.
Haven't we? We've already got 1 foot in fourth, haven't we?
Yes. Some of us are completely in there, and some are kicking into fifth. See, everybody's waiting for this ascension date, but it's not like that. It's happening as we speak right now. People are tasting this metallic taste in their mouth. Their bodies start trembling, or they're getting headaches, and then the headaches go away. It's your mind adjusting, your brain adjusting to the ascension, if you're awake, that is, and or if you're not doing what we're doing.
So for those who aren't, are they going to be sort of dragged through this kicking and screaming, or are they? What's going to happen?
It's like this. They'll reach the same level as us, but then they will be rejected back out. So it would be like getting to see it, but not actually to stay in it. So there will be a separation of that, because the collective consciousness can't afford to have negative particles in it, because then those negative particles will grow, and so it's got to stay as a positive particle, so to speak.
Right, it's like, from the Bible it says not one unclean thing can inherit the kingdom of heaven. That's a gross way of saying that in collective consciousness, your strongest link is the weakest link. Mm-hmm. So it's literally impossible for any person who isn't both clean in thought and mind and able to hold the accelerated energies, because people often confuse dimensions and densities. A dimension is different than a density. A density is the level of energy. A dimension is just a different plane. What we're headed to is a greater density of the third dimension, which is interpreting reality through sight, sound, taste, touch, and smell, and vibration. We're going to go to the next energy level of that. Now, currently, if Peter and I want to go there, we have to project consciousness to go to the fourth density. And I can describe it for you now, because it's amazing beyond belief. When a person has a near-death experience, they always see, or not always, but most often they see a black tunnel with a white light at the end of it. What they don't understand is that they're starting to orb. That what they're doing is they're projecting an orb of white light, which is fourth density, and the black tunnel is them pushing this orb out. And some of them make it through and they get a taste what it's like, but most don't. What Peter and I do is we do this consciously, and we can go to the fourth density of the third dimension, and you have bodies just like this, except you're vibrating super fast. You feel everything is a part of yourself. You can walk through walls, you can fly, you can levitate, you can teleport, you can transform, shapeshift into animals, and you can manipulate matter. So I can walk through a door, go back through, open the knob, shut it, and then walk through it again. You can do either or. The colors are twice as sharp. The smells are twice as rich. The feelings are 100 times more intense. It's just beautiful in ways you can't imagine. And there's not even room for a negative thought. It's not even possible to feel bad. You're in heaven.
It also almost makes you cry when you first go there. So,
I did cry.
It does make you cry when you first go there. And then automatically the next thing you do is start aiming for the fifth, because you go, if this is the fourth, so I've got to go and see what the fifth is like. So,
but we hear so much negative talk about the fourth, that it's the realm of evil and mischievous spirits, or
they're talking about the
entities.
Fourth dimension.
We're talking about densities.
Much, yeah. Yeah, this is the next density of physical existence. This isn't the mental thought plane that they're talking about.
Okay, well now I'm just getting more confused.
Okay, well, the
See,
fourth density that
it-
people are describing is like the time space of this reality. So what they're seeing into is the current collective unconsciousness of humanity. What Peter and I are talking about, the next density, is the next level of the physical creation. It's not the collective unconscious, or what people have called the astral realm.
Okay,
for instance,
if I
at
can
the moment, I'm vibrating like this. Doop, 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 doop. You know, if I was in the fourth density, I would be vibrating like this. So my vibration levels would be up, my energy levels would be up, my physical soul mass would be up, and so on. So it's a it's a physical and a spiritual level.
so dimensions and density,
Yes,
we've
separate
got
them.
separate them. So if I can visualize it, I'll get it. But if I can't visualize it, I'm lost. We have this image of different levels like this. You know, you've got 7, 6, 5, 4, down to 3 where we are, and these are what you would call dimensions.
No, dimensions would be third dimension, fourth dimension, fifth
Yeah, they're
dimension,
parallel.
The parallel.
parallel.
So these are the densities then.
It's the densities of this.
So when people are talking negatively in regards to the fourth, they're actually talking about this fourth density, or the astral.
No, they're talking about a parallel.
No? Okay.
They're parallel, which that can be positive or negative. So, and that's a dimension. But if you go into a dimension, the God particle took all this time coming out of the fourth dimension. Why would we want to go back into a place where we wanted to escape and create a 3D realm where we can have this particular object hold its own form without our mind having to hold it constantly?
Okay.
That's the difference.
It sounds like all this talk about ascension is all, you know, the image is that you're going up, you're going back up, and you're becoming less dense and more light. Whereas what you guys seem to be saying is that it's actually going deeper into the physical experience, deeper into
Right.
matter,
Yes.
where there's also more light.
Yes, matter
Like,
is light. Exactly.
like
What people are
Yeah.
calling ascension is simply an out-of-body experience, and they view ascension as staying out of the body forever. Like we're going to stay in the realms of light, and it's really not that special to go to the realms of light. That's where we came from. We've had them forever, and we will always have them forever. And all you have to do is project a small shade of yourself, and you're in the realms of light. We cut the realms of light out of our experience on purpose. It wasn't an accident. We did it on purpose because we're trying to learn how to create time and space. We're trying to learn how to have a linear reality that makes sense. And we're trying to learn how to always have more energy and more mass to work with as a soul.
This is kind of going to turn a lot of information that's out there on its head. Are you coming up against a lot of confusion? Or are you actually being met with a lot of, aha, now I get it?
Yes, it clicks for most people. The only resistance I'm encountering a lot is amongst people that are currently teaching the other way. I get a lot of resistance from teachers that naturally don't like me because I'm not only can I talk about it, but I demonstrate it, and and if it goes against to what they're teaching, I'll encounter some resistance. But from the general populace, they go, oh my gosh, that makes sense. People talk about the crystal body. We're in the crystal body right now. Water is a crystal. In this density of energy, it manifests fluidic. Now, all the channels are saying we're going to a crystal body. Now, water is a crystal. In the next density, the next compression of energy, it becomes solid like quartz. Except that if we have mastered this energy, we'll be able to literally move our bodies. So it'll be more energy, more compressed, more dense. If you were in the next density, you would literally be able to have an out-of-body experience, and it would be physical like you are right now. So all these lighter realms, that's just where we came from. If what people are calling ascension was really ascension, then all we would need to do is commit mass suicide and we'd be there. But it's not ascension. We're trying to go to a greater state of physical reality.
Okay, I think I see what you're saying. So from here, from this perspective, an out-of-body experience, we are, just a floating little piece of mist. But from
Mm-hmm.
the next density, an out-of-body experience, we would be this solid because it's the next.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. And you can project from the levels. So, if during the next density you wanted to visit humanity and see how they're doing, the ones that didn't make it, you would just project a portion of yourself and it would manifest as a physical being. Well, then you could be in that body and you could say, well, I wonder how the realms of light are doing. Then from that body, you would project another shade of yourself out and you'd be in the realms of light. So you lose nothing and you gain everything by gaining more density.
So where is this humanity that those who didn't make it will be? What's going on
Well,
there?
as we bring the fourth down, it'll be on top of the third, so they'll still be there. They're going to have what was promised to them, a 1,000-year golden age. So they're going to have an opportunity with free energy devices, cleaner locomotion, more time to actually learn and understand energy. They're going to have 1,000 years of peaceful existence. So nobody really needs to be afraid for their family. It's just when they're ready, we'll lift them up to the fourth density. So
In the same way that I'm already occupying the same space as other densities, I just can't
yes.
see them with my third dimensional eyes. We will live side by side. The humanity that didn't make it, that are still in 3D, although they'll actually be in 4, yeah?
They'll be in 3 and we'll be in 4.
They'll be in 4, and they'll live
And
side by side.
right on top of us, except they won't be able to perceive us, but we can perceive them if we wish, or make ourselves visible to them.
So the worst case scenario is you don't ascend, but you get to live in a golden age for the next 1,000 years with a utopian world of free energy and people living their bliss. That's the worst case scenario.
That's the worst case scenario. The way the timelines are right now, yes. So it's nothing but a good thing.
So when you say timelines, what do you mean by that?
Meaning there's no such thing as the future, for one. There's probabilities. So when I say the timeline, I mean the greatest probability based on where we are right now.
And how do you know that?
Because I look inside and view it. And it's not my specialty. Peter and a couple of my other friends are what you call watchers, and they have more of a specialty for viewing the timeline. And so some of it is from what I've seen, and a lot of it's from what they've seen.
So it sounds like remote viewing. Is it the same thing?
It's the same thing. You project a portion of yourself, and when you come out of the brain, when you project out of your body, then you're no longer limited by the linear mind. So you can do what would seem to be super advanced things while you're in your body, while you're out of your body, quite naturally, like traveling time and such. It's really not hard to do at all when you're out of your body.
His name escapes me at the moment, but the guy who sort of created the remote viewing troop that worked for the military, the guy who founded all of that, he's come out recently, actually over the last few years, to talk about the results that his team of remote viewers, what they came up with in regards to 2012. and he talks about a solar flare. The I can't remember what he called it, the kill shot, I think. This huge solar flare that just takes over, wipes out the earth, scorches it, and everything on it. It sounds like a lot of fear-mongering, but
Yeah.
the people who look into the future and see these negative events, how can I put this? Do you think that things like the Bible stories and prophecies that have been around for a long time have become such a part of the collective consciousness that to some degree we're going to have to play them out?
To some degree, yes, but the more people that wake up and really claim their power, they can override the collective consciousness because they just know who they are and what they're capable of. Myself and Peter and others, we're capable of changing a whole timeline just by disbelieving what everybody else believes and being a part of the collective here. So we're not subject to that kind of stuff. And the more people that become as we are, with their mind expanded past their body, being an I am creator, knowing that they're as God, having the God particle in them, they're capable of anything. So we're not at the mercy of anything anymore.
But we've got however many Christians we've got on this planet, and if they're all invested in and have been trained to believe in this Armageddon that they're going to be saved from, what's it going to take to counteract that many Christians thinking about and expecting that?
We've already pretty much done that. I mean, one person that's just aware to the point of your typical light worker or New Age person speaks in a voice at least 1,000 times louder to the collective than a religious asleep person. People like myself and Peter, maybe just an infinite amount of times louder. So the more of us that wake up, it just gets easier. But we've already done it. We've already canceled out any type of accidental negative manifestations by sleeping people.
That's an extraordinary thing to say, you know.
Sure. But to me, it's just normal. But yeah.
So what does training with you entail? If people want to go to your website, the avatarenergymaster.com.
Okay.
What is,
I start everybody out in my course, Avatar Awakening. I named the website Avatar because the definition is a deity incarnate, and we all have the God particle inside of us, so that's what we all are. We're all avatars. Now, Avatar Awakening is how to make this state of awareness reality. You know, lots of people have read about it. Now, how do we experience it? So it's about reversing the polarity. Now, everybody is familiar with polarity, negative, positive, and they always relate it to beliefs, like good beliefs, bad beliefs. It has nothing to do with that. Almost all of humanity is still in the negative polarity, which means they perceive that light comes into our eyes, sound comes into our ears, and touch hits against our skin, and thus our reality is formed. The positive polarity is that light comes out of you, sound comes out of you, touch comes out of you, and forms your world. Then you're no longer a victim. Reality is no longer happening to you, but because of you. What I teach with my meditations is how to reverse your polarity, which is really just a perception, because light is coming out of us, sound is coming out of us. We are projecting this reality. I show you how to experience that and then give you a routine involving a very specific diet and projection meditations that are really based on feeling and intuition. It's not technical stuff at all. It's not, you don't have to spin this triangle 21 times, that one 30 times. You don't have to do anything like that. It's very basic stuff. What you're doing is you're channeling and you're holding your consciousness and you're running amplified energy through your nerve fibers. Now, just like when you lift weights, your muscles grow in size, so as when you channel and hold the energy and ground it, your nerve fibers grow in size and get bigger. So the amount of electromagnetism coming out of you gets stronger, and your sensory nerves get bigger, so your ability to perceive energies gets stronger day by day by day. So it's a routine, a basic routine that you can do to both flip your perception into the positive so that you can see the light coming out of you, hear the sound coming out of you, and begin to expand your mind past your body and feel all things as a part of yourself. Like right now, I feel the molecules in this chair. I can feel them swimming around and reacting to my energy. I feel the floor many feet beneath me. I feel the air around me as a part of myself. Every time I take a breath with my lungs, energy crisscrosses through every single pore. Every beat of my heart goes out many feet, and I'm completely unified with it. If I step outside and the sun shines on me, it doesn't shine on me, it goes through me, through every pore. So it's about how to enhance this reality beyond imagination right now, and how to prepare your bodies to hold a greater density of energy.
So how do you use these abilities and this perception just in day-to-day life, not in teaching and not in um, communicating with others like Peter, but for the average person to learn these techniques? What do they then do with that? How does that affect their life?
Okay, well, the greatest part is really not the power, it's the feelings. It's amazing beyond belief. I am always vibrating 24/7. I'm having a spiritual experience. I still feel the physical body, but my chief sensation is vibration. It's beautiful beyond imagination. The wind will blow and I'll feel it from 10 feet away, and I'll feel the wind blow through me. I feel the sunshine through me. I'll drink a drink of water and one swallow, and I feel that clean vibration go to every pore in my body. Um, I can eat an orange and I can allow that taste to go through every cell, and pretty soon my whole body smells like an orange just because I ate one. I can look at a rose bush from 15 feet away, project my eyes into it, and all of a sudden my whole body smells and feels like a rose. Or I can place my hand on a tree and I go into that tree and I feel the tree as a part of myself. Like I can feel the roots, I can feel the leaves getting sunshine, I feel the water going up it. So the feelings are primary, but like the other day, we had an F4 tornado coming through, and I was able to just easily divert it. If it's pouring down rain and I need to go shopping, I can just open up a little hole, and in 5 minutes it won't be raining, and I can go shopping. Um, it's, I mean, for manifesting, it gets really powerful with the law of attraction when you learn how to make orbs, like Peter and I were discussing, projecting energy into an orb. When you've mastered energy, you can pull an infinite amount to you and then send out orbs and say, well, I need this in my life, I need that, go make it happen. And all these individual little pieces of your intelligence go out into the world and literally make it happen. So the applications are endless.
That could be pretty heady stuff. I suppose there's no risk of abusing that if you're at that level, because then you would personally feel the repercussions of abusing that.
Yes, I feel all things as a part of myself, so why would I do anything to hurt myself? Which is the same thing as to say, why would I do anything to harm another person? Because I feel their emotions as a part of mine. So acting in harmony becomes automatic. So really, we need less of this philosophical talk about love, and what we need is activating energetically and becoming unified. Then acting in love and harmony becomes automatic because you're connected.
Yeah, a lot of that's fake, isn't it?
It is. They're suppressing their true emotions, which isn't good.
Yeah, things like, people who are all light and love and they're always happy and they're always pleased to see you, but, they're having affairs with their friends' husbands and
Yeah.
not necessarily behaving in a love and light kind of way. Yeah, that's the sort of thing.
Yeah.
So
I believe in the free flow of all emotions and expressing them. If a person pisses you off, they need to hear about it. If you try to give love when somebody's really making you angry, you're just putting on makeup. It's fake love. It's not real. I always like to say love is only valid in the presence of truth. And I also like to say this is the age of truth. It's not the age of love, because through the energy of truth, we will finally learn that love is all colors, all vibrations. It's not just green. Love is every color in the rainbow. Love is an interpretation of light. It's not a specific color. It is up to the individual to love. It is not up to the light flowing in and out of them.
Beautifully said.
Thank you.